determinism or free will. Today we are going to talk about those two things. They oppose to each other. Let's talk about that. But before we make an argument, in order to be safe and in order to build a grounded argument, we must define the terms. Determinism is just basically saying that everything I do to this day, it was written before. It was going to happen anyways. It was my destiny. Something like that. Like me studying psychology can be interpreted as my destiny. I also like to believe it was my destiny, but it's the romantic part, it's the dramatic part. So, other than that, free will is just free will. We have free will and we have control our lives in our lives. So, a lot of people ask this, philosophers, sociologists, psychologists, law experts. There's something. We don't go by determinism, right? Because we have laws. If we believe that there was a destiny, let's say if you become a criminal, if it was your destiny, you cannot be punished. So that was the first thing my teacher said. And she said, like, there would be no laws. And I'm still thinking about that. I think after a semester, I still think about that. Like, maybe it was our destiny, maybe it was or not. So, still, we. So, with that, there's three different opinions. One of them opposes each other. Nietzsche, Stoics, and Machiavelli. Let's go one by one. So, Stoics says that there's something we cannot control. It was more like a grounded philosophy because there is something you can't control, like the place where you're born, your name, your parents, whatever. And oftentimes Stoics use this as a virtue to say, hey, I cannot control it, so I shouldn't be thinking about it or shouldn't be stressing over that. So low cortisol activities, if you know what I mean. Other than that, Nietzsche says that it was a coping mechanism to say, hey, I cannot control it. It was like Nietzsche more said it like a, hey, these guys cannot do nothing about it, so they try not to care. Losers. Nietzsche's opinions oftentimes aggressive anyways. So Machiavelli says, on the other hand, he talks about more the determinist and the free will side. He says that things like our name, our parents, place where we born, we cannot control them. This is just a fact. We cannot change them. But we can change our actions, we can change our personality. And Caleb never talked about like how much, but I think he would go 50-50. But still there's componentry. So because we know a bit of two things about psychology, we have things, genetics, epigenetics, that can leave a mark, that can change our behaviors in a very different levels. It's really important. You should check it out. Epigenetics. It is the same like genetics. So, in order to not to get disorganized with the argument, I'm not going to talk about it that much. So, we know it that the place where we born can and will shape our thoughts. Our parents will do the same, can and will shape our thoughts. So, what I would go, it was like a more 70% of determinism, the destiny side of the things, and 30% of the free will. And some would go say, hey, 99 to 1%. And I wouldn't agree whether it was real, it was true or not. Because with things like that, you cannot make a mathematical argument. But 99 to 1% is still could be real. But there's something we can change about ourselves. And see the point the argument actually begins in here. So you gotta lock in. They say, even if you want to change, you change it because of determinism. Because of determinism only. Because maybe someone jumped to you, like someone you just met talked something about you and it changed your whole life, but it was written before. It was your destiny to talk to that someone, met that person. So the determinist look is oftentimes something that says, hey, we don't get to decide what we do, what we think, and so on, so on. But I think this is a look that is not going to work in a practical daily life. Because if we can't change anything, why bother? So I want to tell you guys a tale. Okay? So you know the famous boat fisherman. So one day, fisherman goes out with his boat. The boat sinks, right? And he is in the cold water. And he asks God for help. He says, give me help. And by some miracle, God says, okay, done. I will send you help. I will give you help. And he waits. A boat comes by. A couple of fishermen in there. And the fishermen says, like, what are you doing? Come in. And he's like, nah, I'm not gonna. God is going to help me. So fishermen on the boat, like, they're confused. But eventually, even though they try too hard, they say, like, this guy is probably not on his right mind at this moment. What can we do about it? He's not accepting any help. So they leave. And this interaction happens with different boats. And eventually, a guy dies. Okay, that's what happens. And he sees God, right? And asks himself first, like, where's the help though? Like, I died, basically. So he asks God, hey, like, where's the help, man? I died. And he says, who do you think sent you those boats? So determinism is something like that. You know what I mean? And what I'm trying to tell you with this tale is actually easily understandable. There is the determinism side, the bots, and then there's a free will side. If you ask for help or not. So please let me know what's your opinion on this one, and just let me know.